don't see the waves behind Trustee Nunez this week.
All right, we're live now.
Excuse me, Chancellor Nunez.
I can get the waves now, but I'm leaving the flag for the protocol.
He's got
Okay,
the flag
thank you.
for me, so we can do the
Thank
flag salute. So here we are. Thank you. Here we are, reconvening in open session, almost a half hour late. Thank you for your patience. I hope you could do other things while you're waiting for us. Cirillo, if you can do a roll call, please.
Yes. So, President Schwartz,
I'm here.
Vice President Nurse,
Here.
Trustee Goodman,
Here.
Trustee Holliver,
Here.
Trustee Mandelkern,
Here.
Student Trustee Milani,
Here.
and we also have President Interim Chancellor Claire, Chief Financial Officer Slater, Skyline College Interim President Jackson, College of San Mateo Acting President Lopez, Kenyatta College President Moore, and District Academic Senate President Wallace.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's see if we can join together in the Pledge of Allegiance. This should be fun. I see the beautiful flag behind Vice Chancellor Nunes. I go. Okay, I pledge allegiance. Oh, look at that. I pledge allegiance
The
To the
flag
flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
under God, with
Indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Not bad. We're getting better. Good job. Who did that? That's really nice.
I just want to give kudos to Alexis for sorting it out, making it so.
Oh, Alexis, thank you.
That was Mitch actually today.
Mitch, Alexis, whoever, thank you.
Thank you
It's
both.
great. Okay, closed session items. There is nothing to report out from the closed session, that long closed session. We're down to a discussion of the order of the agenda. Did any board member need anything moved? Hearing none, we'll go to approval of minutes. 20-4-1, approval of the minutes of the special closed session meeting on December 18th. Need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 20-4-2, approval of the minutes of the study session on January 8th. Need a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any comments or comments or corrections?
I believe we received an email from Mr. Reiner with edits to his comments. I don't know if it was on this one. I thought it was, yeah, it was on this one. So I would incorporate, he had verbatim, remarks that he wanted incorporated in the minutes. So I would, I guess, suggest we incorporate those and with that one correction, approve the minutes.
So his thing was quite lengthy.
He had in quotations, his statement, which was summarized in these minutes. But I think if it's a question of putting maybe 3 or 4 sentences at most, is his actual verbatim quote, which he read from a prepared statement. So
I'm prepared to support that if that verbatim statement that he made in the email over the verbatim statement matches what the audio recording of the meeting was. I don't believe our board minutes are an opportunity to revise statements that people made, but to accurately reflect the statements that people made at the time.
Yes, I would suggest when they have, and you mentioned that he was reading for something, that if he could have submitted that for our benefit, that probably would have been more effective than trying to change our minutes since they are board minutes, but that's just my opinion.
Well, my opinion is basically that all we really should be doing is summarizing what someone says anyway and give a reference to what they were talking about and what they came to address us. I don't feel that we are obligated to put in verbatim everything that everyone says from the audience on up. I understand that board members feel that it's very important that their comments be as accurate as possible to what they're saying because it's the basis for a board member's decision. However, everyone in the community that wants to speak is not entitled to those same rights as far as I'm concerned. So if the summary is accurate, then that's fine. And if it's verbatim, it doesn't have to be, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but I think if he's misquoted, I definitely want to make sure that we address that aspect of it. But also, if he's requesting that his statements be read into the record or be a part of the official record, then I would ask that he provide us a copy of the statement, and then we can just make sure that there's a reference to his statement in totality, but keep the summary as a part of the minutes.
Okay, thank you. So if I'm hearing correctly, we're going to keep the summary as a part of the minutes, and if he wants something read into it, he can give that to us. If we
Yes,
could add it to the meeting.
And let me be
Unless
clear.
it-
Let me be
Yeah,
clear.
but also
My
keep in
comment-
mind that there's no that he was not misquoted or
Misquoted.
Exactly.
inaccuracies in the
yes.
statement. If there are, then I
Yes.
suggest that we make those changes.
Correct.
And
So
in the
I would
summary.
suggest, I would agree with that and suggest that before we approve these minutes, we have our board secretary, Cirillo, review the audio transcript to see if it matches the statements that Mr. Reiner says he made.
And let me be clear, my statement really wasn't directed at Mr. Reiner in any way. It deals, that's the way I feel about anyone that would be addressing the board going forward. So I just want to be clear about that. It's not about this specific request. It's just in general about how we be dealing with public comments.
So I don't know, I'm having trouble figuring out what to do with this. So it's, Cirillo, what do you want to?
So
He hasn't left anyway.
yeah, he reached out to me as well, and he wrote in an email his direct quotations. So I acknowledged his remarks, and I asked him to provide the official statement that he read from, so that I could have the full verbatim and verbiage that he used, and I can edit the minutes and then resubmit them if that's what the board would like.
Thank you. I think that makes better sense.
Yes, but I'll just again add the quote. Maybe I wasn't clear the first time through. First off, I assume it's this set of minutes that we're referring to where he raised the issue of it being in error.
Yes.
And yes, and so again, I would just say to review the audio transcript, because I think our job with the minutes is to reflect what was said at the meeting, not what was intended to have been said or what might have been desired to have been said, but what was actually said based on the audio transcript.
So maybe we should table these minutes and have Cirillo do a more thorough just reading of re-listening to the tape and inserting what the Mr. Reiner would like, have it become more accurate on his account. Is that correct?
Okay.
So can we bring these minutes back to another time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any objections from the board members? I'm
No.
going to bring those back. Thank you. Okay. Okay, very good. Presentations to the board by persons and delegations, 20-41B, contemporary conversation regarding race, class, gender, privilege, and equity, adopting statement reinforcing, so we were adopting our statement that's reinforcing civility, tolerance, and acceptance. So you have our statement. Does any board member would like to make a comment about that? Hearing none, I guess we're just going to accept the statement as is.
President Schwartz,
Yes.
if I may, and I really, the intent here is for us as a district and you as a board as leaders to reaffirm our commitment to what's stated in the statement, particularly given the environment we're in, and we want to be extra mindful that groups are not targeted because of the COVID-19 outbreak. So we thought this was, and we can have a more thorough discussion if you'd like, but the intent here was to reaffirm where the board and the district are in terms of making sure that groups are not targeted, particularly with respect to this particular situation we're in.
I appreciate it. I actually put this on the agenda for the simple fact that I was listening to a webinar from the state, and the state student trustee brought this to the attention of the group. And I know that other community colleges are actually doing resolutions or statements to the effect to support their students and communities in this time against this type of thing. So that's why I brought this forward, to have our reaffirming of what we had already established.
If I may, President Schwartz?
Yes.
Yes, so I would support this. I believe we have not had any incidents on our campuses or amongst our constituents at this point. I would note that I'm aware of at least 2 incidents that other elected officials have brought to my attention in San Mateo and in Belmont that have been, rather nasty in their comments regarding COVID-19. I would hope that we wouldn't have anything like that within our district or within our members of our community, but I think it's good to have a policy and a statement like this on the record, just so people know where we're coming from and what our beliefs are in this matter, and that we are supportive of the efforts that our colleagues in San Mateo and Belmont have made to stamp out this kind of commentary.
Thank you, and that was the intent, so I appreciate that. Any other comments on this subject?
No, just I agree with it 100%. We did kind of touch on it earlier in the year. I think it was either December or January. But also, I guess, as we continue to go through this, it's been turned on its ear with regards to the African, discrimination in China. And so it's, hopefully that doesn't, come over to our country, but it's becoming more and more prevalent over there that people of African descent are being scapegoated the way here in America that, people are scapegoating and discriminated against people of Asian descent. So I think we need to make sure that, we understand that we have our statement that we approved, and we speak out against all types of discrimination and acts of hate, including the hate that happens in our I think we had a situation at Kenyatta that was brought to our attention as a board, where someone made a vulgar racial statement, and we stand against all of that as a district, and in support of our faculty, staff, our students that may be harmed by these acts of cowardice and ignorance.
Agreed. And personally, I don't think we can say it enough or too many times, because as you just mentioned, I didn't even know about that. It just shouldn't be tolerated. So I think us making the statement that we certainly don't tolerate it here, and reassuring that our students, they can get out from our communities. It's something that we can do here. So I appreciate that.
If I may, President Schwartz, as we rely more on Zoom, and the phenomenon of Zoom bombing that Trustee Goodman was referring to, sadly, sometimes people of small minds and narrow viewpoints, can interfere with those sessions and spew their hatred, and that is not appropriate or acceptable or tolerated in this district. I think that's a separate topic, and if we wanted to add a comment around that to this statement, I would certainly be in favor of that as well. I also want to point out, again, when we look at disparities in terms of how this disease affects people and how it is treated, that the African-American community has been disproportionately affected, apparently, by COVID-19 as well. And I think that's something that we need to be aware of and need to be supportive and sensitive to as well.
Absolutely. Numbers speak the truth, right? Okay, any other discussion on this item? Thank you. It was good dialogue. We're ready to move forward to statements from executives and student representatives. Interim Chancellor Claire, would you like to make a statement?
Sure. Thank you, President Schwartz. And one of the things, and I believe I mentioned this to you in a weekly update, I can't remember, but we've really put a bit of a moratorium on the formal executive reports to the board. We really wanted to focus on our response to COVID-19, but we hope to bring those back to you. It's just that we've had to put all resources into responding to the crisis. So you're not seeing formal reports from the presidents, but we hope to bring that back at some point, perhaps in May. I'll have to talk to the presidents. I did want to mention one thing. Whenever we have an employee that's recognized for a statewide award, we we like to communicate that with you publicly. So I just received this today that our very own Jonathan Bissell received an award from, I'm going to read off of this just to make sure I have it right, from the California Contract Education Technical Assistance Association. And he was presented with a Star Performer Award. And there are 3 different awards. One is for innovation, one is for collaboration, and one is for leadership. And Jonathan received the award for leadership. And I'm going to read this. It's given to the continuing, or the community ed or continuing education program that is raising visibility and communicating the value of contract education to key stakeholders regionally and statewide. This year's Star Performer awardee is Jonathan Bissell. And this is, what's significant is this is a peer review, this is a peer voted award. So I just wanted to congratulate Jonathan for his leadership and recognize him this evening. And that concludes my remarks. I'll turn it over to, I think, President Jackson, if she's on the line.
Thank you.
President Jackson?
She's here, but there she goes.
I'm still learning the Zoom format and how to mute and unmute. So thank you very much for indulging me. I don't really have a report other than to announce that our own Associated Student Body President, Pearl Ibenusu, received the Pitzer Award from UC Santa Cruz in the amount of $20,000. So I just wanted to acknowledge that she is our representative this year from Skyline College. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. That's great.
Acting President Lopez, any report?
Yeah, just 2 things real quick. Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of positive things to share, so I thought I would take the opportunity to share them real quick with you. I don't know if you're participating in the Wednesday morning webinars that our Chancellor Oakley, our State Chancellor Oakley, is facilitating, but they're quite popular around the state. And I was surprised, but pleasantly surprised to see that last Wednesday, he actually had a shout out for the College of San Mateo. And it was in reference to a letter that one of our students mailed to him, sent to him unbeknownst to us. And she was praising the efforts that our faculty have taken to really meet this challenge. And in particular, she praised her microbiology professor Smith, Christopher Smith, and just wanted to really recognize the work that the faculty have done to meet the challenge. And so Chancellor Oakley said, you know, good job, CSM. And I think that's really true for our entire district as well. So that was really nice to hear. And then on Friday, last Friday, we had our very first student virtual town hall meeting, and we co-hosted with our academic senate, with our classified senate leadership, and with our ASCSM students as well. And we had over 100 participants, student live participants, and over 40 questions were asked, all kinds of different things. So we learned a lot through that, and we've heard good feedback, and we have recorded it, and we're going to send it out, the link in the next Bulldog Bulletin. So hopefully you're on our list if you care to listen in. That's it for me. Thank you.
Sorry, multitasking here. President Moore.
Thank you, Interim Chancellor Claire. I really don't have anything to report at this time. Just enjoy working with the team and trying to keep pace with everything as we deal with the enrollment and issues related to COVID-19. But thank you.
Okay, I'm doing this. I've got myself placed in the boardroom. I'm trying to remember who's next, and I think it's Chief Financial Officer Slater.
Thank you, Mike. Nothing to report at this point.
Okay, and then District Academic Senate President Wallace.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Try to keep my comments brief since I know we're going to be talking about some of them later on in the agenda. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out, of course, to the faculty of the district for all the great work you're doing. Want to give a shout out to my colleagues on the district senate. We've been meeting every Monday since we closed the campuses, and they've been troopers for sure. And then of course, I want to just give a quick shout out to Aaron McVean, who's been my administrative partner in crime for the last 6 weeks or so. So, but other than that, like, I just wanted to kind of just like fill you on a couple of things that the Senate's doing, or we've been doing over the last month. We did create a task force on teaching and learning, which is going to be providing guidance for the online teaching over the summer, for the rest of the spring, and going to hopefully be developing or working with the local campuses to provide professional development for online teaching and learning. The thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the agenda, but I'll just kind of give you a brief overview now, is that we did pass a resolution on the grading options for the spring. So I think I'll just leave it at that for now, because I know we're going to talk about that later, and I can answer any questions on that. And then the last thing is I just want to let everybody know that the District Senate now has a web page dedicated just to the COVID-19 guidance and communications. And it's crazy. I was uploading all of the emails I've sent out to the faculty since I think like March 12th or something like that. It's just crazy how quickly things changed. Like one day I'd send an email out, and then the next day it'd be something completely different, because 24 hours, like the whole situation was different. So it's been a wild ride, but it's been fun. That's my report.
Thank you, District Academic Senate President Wallace. You know, we are kind of returning to, I guess, what I would call the new normal. We do not have a student report for this particular board meeting. I apologize for that. We're trying to really give space for our students to adjust. But like the president's reports, we hope to come back to that. Perhaps in May, we'll have to talk. I also, before I turn it back to President Schwartz, we ought to also congratulate Dr. Angelica Garcia. As you know, she has been appointed to as the president of Berkeley City College. So Angelica, if you're out there, I know this is your last meeting with the district, but your contributions to Skyline, your contributions to the district, been much appreciated. And I know you're going to make a great president for Berkeley City College. So congratulations. And that concludes our remarks. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Before I forget, I will tell you that sometimes, if I'm aware of it, I've been able to sit in on some of the college's town hall meetings, and I applaud all of you. They're interesting, and it's interesting for this board member to kind of hear what's going on and the feedback from me, the conversations that you have. I appreciate the fact the ones that I can't go, that we get some kind of information saying it happened and go here, and we can tune in later. The delay. So any information, the board appreciates getting at any time. Thank you. So now we're down for statements from other representative groups. Is there anybody here from AFT who would like to provide any update? I don't think so. From CSEA? Or from AFSCME?
President Schwartz, I see Annette Burrow with her hand up, so
oh, okay.
I think you might want to make a comment.
Okay, Annette, welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I would like to thank all of our CSEA members for being so flexible in the way they provide support to our students during these uncertain times. And I would also like to thank Mitch Bailey and David Bune for working collaboratively with CSEA to reach an agreement with regards to CSEA member employment details during the COVID-19 pandemic. We are bringing the MOU to our executive board meeting this coming Tuesday for a ratification vote. And that's it.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Okay, statements from the public on non-agenda items.
Negative comments from AFSCME.
Oh, okay, well, good. I know they're working very hard, and we do appreciate it. Statements from the public on non-agenda items. That would be, anybody, I guess, raise their hand, or Chancellor, Interim Chancellor, I guess you're in control of that, I hope.
I'm not, but I'm looking through the list for hand raises.
Oh, okay. Well, I can do that
and
too.
I'm not seeing anything, but I have other people that are backing me up. So,
Okay. I think I just switched to the wrong side. Well, if anything comes up and I'm not aware of it, please let me know. We'll go down to new business. 20-4-3A, approval of personnel items, changes in assignment, compensation, placement, leave, staff, allocations, and classification. Thank you very much. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Board discussion. Any questions or clarifications?
Just to comment again, to follow up with what Interim Chancellor Claire has stated regarding Vice President Angelica Garcia. If you're on the call, congratulations. And thank you so much for your years of service to our district and our students.
Well said. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 20-4-4A.
That was an aye for me. Sorry, aye.
Aye, okay. Majority vote. 20-4-4A, correction to the board report 20-4-2A, reemployment of contract and regular faculty for the 2021 academic year. So we need a motion to talk about that.
Move approval.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Are there any public comments or questions? We check the hand raising. Okay, any questions from the board or comments? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Yeah, I've lost my place here. Oops. Oh, 20. Okay, sorry about that. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, very good. Any clarifications or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the vote, all in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Other recommendations, 20-4-103B, acceptance of grant funds from the National Science Foundation for the Sky Back Tech project. Need a motion to accept the grant funds?
So move.
Thank you. And a second. Skyline College Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Jennifer Taylor Mendoza, is available to answer any questions if we have any. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just add a quick comment that this looks like a fantastic proposal, and I'm glad that the college received the grant and enthusiastically support this and wish Skyline well.
Okay, here, agreed. So I think we're ready to vote. All in favor? I'm sorry, did somebody say something? No.
I was just going to thank the board, but I'll wait until after you take the vote.
Okay, Dr. Jackson. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Jackson.
I just wanted to thank the board. We came to the board last month with the recommendation of expanding some of the services at BAYEC, which is our entrepreneurial program, to work with the college. Even though they're part of the college as part of this grant, there's some specific things that they'll have to do. So this is the second part now to actually accept the grant. So thank you very much for your support.
You're very welcome. Okay, moving down to 20-4-104B, approval of contract award for development of evaluation plan for the Promise Scholar Program replication. Need a motion to discuss it? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor of Education Services and Planning, Dr. Erin McVean, and Interim Director of General Services are available for questions. Are there any questions from the public? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the board? None? Okay, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 20-4105B, oh gosh, vote to elect members to the California Community College Trustee Board. We need a motion and a second to discuss the vote.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And are there any public comments or questions? Wants to know why we're doing this. At this time, we would like to ask any members to identify candidates for the vote. The staff will keep tally for the preferred candidates, and the board will discuss the top candidates. Who would like to start? I have to get it in front of me.
President Schwartz, I'll start with
Yes.
a comment if I may.
Thank you.
In keeping with our past practice, I'd like to suggest that we vote for the, I believe, 3 candidates who are from our Bay 10 district. I believe we had one from Ohlone, one from.
Did we lose you? Oh, you're muted again. Trustee Middleton is muted. Why is that?
Yes, sorry. I'm losing control of my windows here on my computer. I've got too many open windows. So we had a West Valley Mission candidate, Adrian Gray, who I propose that we support, Suzanne Lee Chan from Ohlone, and Cindy Rice or Reese from Peralta. So I would suggest that those be 3 of the ones that we vote for.
Okay.
I agree with that as well.
So with 3, we have to, we don't have to vote for all 9, but it's, there are 9 seats up for re-election.
I'll throw out names.
Okay.
I think in the past, I remember supporting Prendergrass. I believe we supported Haynes. So I'd say those 2. The other one that it's so hard to really know because, you know, we just look at a resume. Hoffman sounded good.
Which one? I'm sorry. What was the last one?
Hoffman.
Oh, Hoffman. Okay. What is this? Any other suggestions for, whoops, oh, Mitch Bailey, where'd you go? Oh, look at this, we have a chart.
I can't, I know we've, now I've, oh, here's, I'm off mute. I know I think we've supported Lauren Steck from Monterey in the past, but I'm not sure. Maybe my colleagues can recall that if we have or not.
I can't recall that name. I'm not sure for whatever reason. Number 11 is familiar. Maybe I've met him at a conference, but that's the only name other than the 3 local that I can recall.
Right. One, two, three, four, five, six.
1, 2, 3, 6, 7. So I mean, do you want to just stick with the 7 and
call it a day?
Yeah. So I got 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 11.
Okay.
I concur.
Boy, this is so professional. I love this.
Kudos to Mitch Bailey.
I want to say too much time on your hands, but it's very helpful.
Yeah, who said there weren't advantages to doing this?
It makes it, yeah. Okay. Is the entire board comfortable with this? To vote on these 7? Okay. So I'll call for them. So I don't know, we already did our, we all have a good motion in a second, so I can call for the vote with the 7 that we have called out. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Okay. 20-4106B, approval of suspension of the board policy 6.25 pass, no pass options relating to the COVID-19 operating conditions. We need a motion and a second, please.
So move.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor of Educational Service and Planning, Dr. Erin McVean, is available for questions. Are there any public comments or questions? Hearing none, is there any questions or comments from board members?
Yes.
Trustee Holler.
Well, first is pass, no pass versus pass, fail. Can someone elaborate on that choice and what it means when you get a no pass?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. So the pass no pass grading option allows a student to allows them to choose that grading option, and if they receive a no pass, the state chancellor's office has waived any impact that would have on calculation of GPA. It waives any impact, and so it doesn't have any impact on maintaining good academic standing. And it also, under the current suspension of Title V regulations, doesn't have any impact on repeatability for the course. And so that the no pass option allows that, as opposed to an F, which has negative impacts across all those areas.
Just to follow up on that, is this the standard change that other college districts are adopting?
Yeah, so with the suspension of the Title V limitation about students having to choose the pass no pass grading option within 30% of the start of the term, this has opened up the ability for students to choose it at this point. Also, with some of the different transfer institutions, it's expected that students are going to exercise this option, and so we want to remove, and other institutions are doing similar, removing any negative effect that it might have for students to choose the pass no pass option if it is the best choice for them. And I want to say that here for all of you, but also for everybody who's in attendance. We still are encouraging students to check in with their counseling faculty to make sure that choosing a pass no pass option is the best option for them, as opposed to, for example, an excused withdrawal or talking about it incomplete with the faculty member in their class. But this can be the least impactful option for some students in certain cases. And with that, we want to allow for that. And so what the suspension of our board policy does is it removes any negative impact on earning certificate or degree for students from this term who choose that option.
Will they still have a letter grade option available or not?
Absolutely. So the vast majority of our classes are set up for only a letter grade option. And so this is where a student would have to, and again, first working with their counseling faculty, please, but this is where a student would opt in to have a pass no pass grading option.
And is pass no pass the specific correct language? Because I've also heard people use credit, no credit in reference to this.
For us, yes. We do have a board policy that also specifies our different grading options, and ours is pass, no pass. I think credit, no credit might be a slightly older term. We might have even had it in this district at one point, but now currently it's pass, no pass.
President Schwartz, I'm sorry, Trustee Mandelker.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to raise my hand for additional comments, if I might, President Schwartz.
Yes, please do.
Yes. So I know this is a topic that's generated a lot of comments, concerns, consternation, and feedback. First, I recognize that our students work very hard and should be rightfully proud of their academic achievement and the acknowledgement of that grades represent. I don't mean to minimize that in any way, and I'm very proud of the hard work that our students do. These are extraordinary times, however, and I do want to say just two things. One is to hopefully provide some comfort to our students that we are not alone in this. This is something that's affecting everyone, whether they're coming out of high school and applying to college, whether they're coming out of community college and transferring to a four-year institution, whether they're in a four-year institution today. Everyone is facing this dilemma. And this is not going to be something where you are going to be alone and this is going to be held against you in some way, that this is going to be prejudicial in any way towards your future success and accomplishment. So this is, I think, is meant as a benefit for students, because just can give two examples very quickly. I think it's very challenging for some of our faculty members who are getting accustomed to online education and or I should quarantine learning, really, I think is a better term than calling it distance learning, and the evaluation of students in this remote environment, and to be able to do that fairly is difficult. And so I think this allows greater flexibility. And I think the other concern is not all students have the same advantages. And for many of our students who are now trying to take classes from home, where they have multiple family members present trying to engage in learning or other activities, where they've had to pick up additional work hours to help support their family through these very difficult times, it's not entirely fair to expect all of our students to be able to react in the same way to this change in environment. So I think this gives an option to provide some equity in terms of the evaluation of our students. So I feel this is the right thing to do. The only question I would ask at this point is, do we also consider the hold harmless alternative, where students are given the choice if they want to maintain the letter grade they had going into the suspension versus a potentially higher grade that they might be able to get through evaluation, but not having any worse a grade than they had when this suspension of face-to-face instruction stopped. Did the Academic Senate consider that, or did the administration consider that possibility?
I'd like to, that's a great question, Trustee Mandelkern. And I was gonna, before you asked your question, I wanted to acknowledge the work of the Academic Senate. This was really a great collaborative effort between the Academic Senate, and they really have primacy with respect to grading and grading policy. And I'm looking at District Academic Senate President on my screen, Wallace, right now, and you wrote a great, the Senate wrote a great resolution. So I wanted to acknowledge that, and I wanted to make sure that District Academic Senate President Wallace had a chance to chime in just in general. But perhaps I'd like to turn it over to, if it's okay with President Schwartz, if District Academic Senate President Wallace might address that question, but also just talk in general about the process and where the Academic Senate is on this entire issue, if that's okay with President Schwartz.
Well, actually, I was going to ask him myself, because you talked about things changing. I remember having kind of a little conversation a few weeks ago where we didn't think this would work, and here we are. So, yeah. Jeremy, we really appreciate your input.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Yeah, first of all, I do want to kind of echo what Chancellor Clare and Vice Chancellor McVean had mentioned. This was a collaborative effort between the Senate and the district administration. I think, Aaron, Carrie Mitchell, I believe, was in on some of these conversations as well. And so we're really working together, trying to come up with the best solution for our students. So maybe to take up your question first, Trustee Mandelkern. Yeah, we talked about different ways to to implement like a no fault type of grading, kind of like what a lot of the Ivy Leagues are doing. Under Title V and under like other kind of regulations and laws, the closest that we could get to a kind of a hold harmless grading scheme was the abolition of the F grade for the spring semester. And so in the letter grade scheme that we're going to be using for the spring, the F grade has been replaced by the no pass. And so we now have an A, B, C, D no pass grading kind of spectrum for the students who are using a letter grade this semester. The reason why we wanted to get rid of the F, though, is because the F has a lot of detrimental impacts on the students' financial aid, their GPA, their course repeatability, probation, dismissal, all that stuff. Fs are just bad, right? And so we threw in the no pass because if a student decides that they want to go on with the class through the semester and try to pass it, and for whatever reason they're unable to get a D or better, The no pass allows the student to not take a hit on their GPA. It allows them to not go into probation or continue deeper into probation. It does not go against them in dismissal proceedings, and it doesn't go against their repeatability. So the no pass option is like the closest that we could get to not penalizing the students for what happened this semester. And for that reason, we think that the ABCD no pass option is probably the best option that the students have this semester. Like Vice Chancellor McVean said, we're like faculty are like constantly emailing me and the other Senate presidents, like, what do we do with our students who've disappeared? Or what do we tell our students who want to withdraw? It's like, kind of the bottom line, again, like I'll do the shout out to Aaron. It's like, talk to a counselor, right? Figure out your options, right? And then, yeah, so that's kind of, I hope that kind of answers your question, Trustee Mandelkern.
Yeah, yes, thank you. That was very informative.
And I'd really like to reinforce that that approach to the grading, the elimination of the F, that came from Jeremy and the Academic Senate as that solution. And he also mentioned we've established a task force under the District Academic Senate, and they're putting together recommendations, guidance from the Senate, specifically about finishing out the spring term. And we just wrapped up on a nice guidance letter that we're going to take to District Academic Senate on Monday. And part of what it talks about is focusing on, have students met the learning outcomes for the course? And if they've met the learning outcomes, maybe consider no final exam. And so there's a lot of different scenarios in there about if, everything that folks can do, and this is faculty primarily on this task force, really putting forth what are all of the best ideas in order to finish out this semester in the most equitable, compassionate, flexible way possible. And it's actually a really fun group to be a part of because it's a lot of just innovative ideas about how to handle this situation in the best way possible for students. So.
Thank you. I guess that's all. Any other questions from board members?
Just one final comment, if I might, President Forrest. Yes, I hope when this is communicated and with the outcome of what we choose to do here, that it is made clear to students that they do have the option of maintaining the letter grade, because that was not apparent from this resolution that was brought to us. And I hope that it can be communicated clearly that we're not taking anything away that they might want to do, but we're giving them an additional option that they can choose.
Very good. Any other questions or comments on this subject? Congratulations. I know this is a lot of work, and it's all for the betterment of the students. Wish them well. Thank you. So we have comments. Now we're down to voting. All in favor of suspending this policy?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 24-107B. What? 20-107B, adoption of resolution recognizing Community College Month. We need a motion and a second to discuss the resolution of recognition.
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Vice Chancellor, Chief of Staff Mitchell Bailey is available for any questions. Are there any questions from the public or comments? Board discussion.
Looks like there's a hand up, Trustee Schwartz.
Oh, okay. Who is that? Oh, Maxine. Go ahead, Maxine. You have to unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, Maxine.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the efforts that you and the staff have been faculty and staff have been going through. I know it's difficult. I
Just a brief question. No problems with congratulating the community colleges in this resolution, but it does raise an issue that before in terms of there are two whereas talk about having 30,000 students and then approximately 5,000 students receiving degrees and certificates. So I've always been trying to find out how these numbers come from because they're different in every document I look at. And so I would just like to know where I can find the data that this information is based on. There's no fact book online that's available online. And it's very difficult to get in touch with anybody to do follow-up questions during these times, and I'm trying to be sensitive to that. Different attendance used in everything you get. You've got head counts, you've got enrollments, you've got unduplicated, and you've got full-time. I would like to know what the 30,000, what those numbers are. And if you could just give me who I could follow up with tomorrow, so I don't have time at the meeting, but I would like the opportunity to follow up on this question. And I hope that the board is also interested in having consistent data that is relevant to themselves and to the state, having a clarification on that, who I might be able to follow up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine Turner. Does anybody want to volunteer to talk to Maxine tomorrow, but give her these information she's looking for? Mitch?
President Schwartz?
Chancellor?
Yeah. I'm happy to work with staff, and we have very capable researchers and very clear, a very clear data dictionary. So, Maxine, I thank you for your question. I'll be in contact with you, or at least connect you with somebody that might be able to answer your questions. I do appreciate your patience. We've been really focused on the COVID-19 response, but I'm happy to work with you on that.
Just for clarification, Maxine Turner, I guess, was referring to the policy, the pass, no pass. I had already moved to the community college month resolution. So I think she's referring to the, talking about the numbers that were in the pass, no pass. Thank you. Any other hands up before we move on? So back to, I think we had a motion and a second to talk about the resolution for recognizing Community College Month. And Chief of Staff Mitch Bailey is here for questions. And are there any public questions or comments on this item? Hearing none. How about board members? Comments or questions or clarifications? You guys just all like that resolution. Great. Makes life easy. Okay, are we ready to vote on that resolution? I think we are. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Very good. Information report 20-4 3C. Update on district COVID-19 response, including offering the district courses exclusively in online and distance learning mobilities for the summer of 2020 academic term. Interim Chancellor Claire will start this report. Thank you.
Thank you, President Schwartz. And I've got a computer screen right in front of me, so if my eyes go up, it's because I'm reading my notes off the screen. I apologize. We wanted, we'll continue to place a COVID-19 update on the board agenda as we work through this. I will say that we have migrated out of this full Emergency Operations Center mode, EOC mode, and we're really trying to get back to the new normal. And I'm appreciative of the fact that we're able to really engage our participatory governance groups. You heard about the work with the Senate, and we're also meeting. I'm meeting with the classified Senate reps and student reps as well. So it's nice for us to get back to some bit of normalcy, although it's in a Zoom meeting, but that's better than nothing. A couple of things we wanted to talk to you about tonight, and I'll be handing some of this off to others, but first of all, I wanted to let you know that Chancellor's Cabinet, we've developed some strategic priorities that we want to focus on between now and fall. And I want to share those with you. But before I do that, I really want to have the opportunity to talk to our participatory governance groups to make sure that we're not missing anything. But it's really a compilation of everything that we've heard from faculty, from classified staff, and most importantly from students. And some of what I'm going to report to you tonight kind of reflects those priorities. But I'll give you the full strategic priorities as soon as I've had a chance to really, we've had a chance to talk to our constituencies. Regarding summer, we have worked collaboratively with the Academic Senate on the decision around, or the recommendation around summer session. And I believe Academic Senate President Wallace, I believe that District Academic Senate actually took a vote on this as well. And we're all in agreement that the recommendation is that we remain in this distance mode for the summer session. There may be some exceptions with lab courses, that sort of thing, as restrictions are lifted and we can keep students safe. We're going to have to be flexible about that. But the consensus is that it's, given all the unknowns, that it's prudent to do this. What I heard from a lot of people was just that we live in this uncertainty, and let's just make this part certain. That way faculty, that way staff, that way administrators can prepare. Because believe it or not, we're preparing the summer schedule as well as the fall schedule right now. So to be able to predict the future, a couple of months in advance is not an easy thing to do. So we want to put some certainty into the uncertainty. And as I said, we've worked in collaboration with the Academic Senate. We continue to get feedback from students. We continue to make improvements because we did have to go to this online mode immediately. But before I go on to plans for fall, I wanted to open it up for board, any board comment or concerns regarding summer session in continuing in this distance mode, and then I can talk to you about what we're doing for fall.
Okay. Thank you for that. Board members, Trustee Mendelker?
Yes, so Chancellor Clare, thank you for the update, and I certainly appreciate and agree with the need to provide certainty and guidance as quickly as we can. I have heard from other boards and other districts around the state, there are certain courses that apply specifically to essential services occupations, for example, the allied health area, first responders and EMT training, to name two areas where there is an urgent need for these folks within the workforce to specifically deal with the COVID-19 crisis. And some of the courses to finish these programs require extensive hands-on components. I would hope that there would be consideration given to being able to reopen the campus for those specific laboratory hands-on activities, given proper social distancing, safety, et cetera, so that we can help those students complete their programs and enter into the workforce just as quickly as possible. So that would be the only exception to your online only policy for summer that I would like to suggest, at least for your consideration.
No, thank you so much, Trustee Mandelkern, and it's a great point. And I can tell you, for instance, our police academy right now is in operation because they're essential. They're an essential service. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chancellor McNean. Aaron, if you could address that and what we're doing in terms of really kind of accommodating those essential programs and the need for some face-to-face contact?
Sure, absolutely. We've already had a couple of requests from, I think one from EMT, another section that we run that helps folks who are currently in the field maintain their licensure. And so absolutely, we're developing the criteria and the guidance right now with the expectation that we will also be receiving modified shelter-in-place orders within the next couple of weeks. And so with all of that in hand, what we call recovery, part of that will be a consideration of allowing those essential services to finish anything that is keeping them in the workforce or finishing out the last not clinical hours, for lack of a better term, even though it might not be clinical hours, so that folks can finish the certifications and get in for those essential type services. We have a medical assisting section that was trying to finish out that might need to be brought back under that circumstance. So definitely part of I think the theme at this point is flexibility and being able to respond as soon as we get new directions, new orders. And so that's what we're planning for right now.
I would just hope that respiratory therapy and nursing would be on that list as well, because I think those are two key skills that we can produce students and graduates for to fill in the workforce that are very much in need. And they both have hands-on components that hopefully we can start to accommodate again during the summer term.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was so proud of Skyline being able to put 24 respiratory therapists in the workforce right now. So there's going to be 24 slots to start a new program. So congratulations. And the BRN, the Bureau of Registered Nursing, has relaxed their clinical hours, and so we'll be working with that program as well, so that we can get those nurses out in the field and to work. So I don't know if there's other comments. I will tell you the one thing before, unless there's other comments about summer, as far as I know, every single community college in the Bay 10 is suspending face-to-face classes for the summer. We do now a semi-monthly check-in, but we've been checking in, and the consensus is this is really the only valid decision we can make, as much as we'd like to restore face-to-face. It's just too soon to tell. So if there's no other, and we can circle back around if we want to have a more, to this. I do want to tell you what our plans are for fall, and it's really interesting. I think Jeremy was saying every time you write a memo, something changes. So you're probably reading the national stories right now about universities not sure whether they're going to continue for fall semester in a face-to-face mode. Right now, our plan is to, because we are putting the fall schedule together at all three campuses, and it is a big task. The plan is to assume we're going to be in face-to-face mode. My motto is hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst. And what that means is either we're going to have to start the semester in face-to-face, and we'll have to make a call probably sometime in July about that, if that's the way it's going to go, or we're going to have to be prepared to immediately switch to face-to-face if in fact we get another shelter-in-place order. So right now, that's the plan. I got in my notes here, and this is at the top of every priority, and we heard a number of you loud and clear when we first discussed this move, is that we are absolutely committed to making sure that the decisions that we make as best as we can are equity minded, that we maintain our commitment to student equity and access, and really try to understand and respond to the fact that not all of our students have access to technology or the resources that other students might have. So I wanted to state that's an underpinning. We are in full recruiting mode for fall. In fact, we're going to talk about this in our cabinet tomorrow, but I'm really pleased. I was talking to student trustee Milani, who's also a student ambassador, and she told me she's in touch with students right now that are going to be heading to Skyline College. So our recruiting efforts just continue, and we'll get an inventory of that and make sure that you know, students know that we are open and excited about having them come join us. It's difficult to determine, as we all know, what the impact on enrollment is going to be. If we're in a recession, the conventional wisdom is that students flood back to us. We just don't know. The other thing that we're trying to prepare for, and it's hard to get a bead on this right now, is that a number of students that would have gone away to a four-year institution may elect to take a gap year, or they may elect to, you know, they may not have a choice. They may just be staying home this fall, and, you know, we may find them on our doorstep. And if we do, we'll certainly serve those students, but we also want to be mindful of the students that we traditionally serve and that they're not pushed out the door if a whole new group of students comes in. So, you know, the good news is that if you look at our, I guess it's good news, bad news, but if you look at our load and if you look at our average class size, they are low. We really haven't cut a lot of classes. And so, again, I think I mentioned this in one of my updates, we have the capacity to grow enrollment without adding significant numbers of sections for fall, I believe. There'll be high demand areas where we'll have to add, but I believe we can absorb an influx of students if they come our way. And I actually hope they do. The other piece, and this is probably the most important in terms of our planning, is we want to use this time now, between now and the fall semester, to really improve the distance ed experience for our students. We had to go from a bricks and mortar institution to purely online in 6 days. And there's a lot of things we did well, but there's, as we go back, and you heard it the last time from faculty and students, there's things we need to do better. So some things that we're working on right now is we really want to make an effort during the summer, between now and summer, on our professional development efforts. And the good news is, and we talked about this the other day in cabinet, we have in-house expertise. And so we want to, again, work with the academic senate, work with the classified staff, the CSEA, as well as the classified senate, and make sure that we're really taking advantage of this time that we have to ramp up, assess and ramp up our professional development efforts. We want to make sure we take the time to build structures if we are going to be potentially online, either at the beginning or sometime during the semester, to better support our students. And that means relooking at our services again and making sure we maintain that high-tech, high-touch goal that we have. We definitely need to assess our technology needs, both for our students and as well as our faculty and classified staff. One thing that we're excited about, and I'm going to turn it over to Tom Bauer and Daman in UL in just a second, but you know, it's very clear to us you can't be a college student without technology in your hands, and it's got to be more than just a phone. And so what this has really done is this has put front and center our need to really address this systematically for once and for all. And we're looking at a potential, this is very early, but we're looking at a potential loan-to-own program for students where we either subsidize the technology, or if we can't subsidize it completely, we can finance it for our students and give them, you know, their college career with us to pay off that, you know, a laptop or an iPad. And Tom, can I turn it over to you and or Daman to just kind of sketch that out in terms of what you're thinking of?
Sure, not a problem. So what the bookstore managers have done is they've gone out and identified 9 different computer packages, ranging from, you know, the Chromebook, the easiest and, you know, most adaptable, but, you know, it doesn't do a whole lot, but it'll get you into Canvas. You'd be able to check your email, all the way up to a MacBook Pro for our students who are in digital media and other programs where a Chromebook just isn't going to cut it. So there are basically 9 packages that we put together, and they were chosen, and I've shared them with Daman because I wanted him to look at them and make sure that what we picked out is going to address the needs of the majority of our students, which we believe they will. And then we actually took the cost of it and divided it up into payment plans. So it's 12 months, 18 months, or 24-month payment plans for students that would need to do that. For the higher end technology, they absolutely need to do that. But I'm in the process now of having conversations. The Kenyatta College, President Moore and her vice presidents invited me today, and we had kind of a brainstorming session. And I expect to be doing the same thing with the other two colleges shortly about not only what monies students can get that we can apply towards these purposes, you know, CARES money that's out there right now, potentially any type of promise incentives that students may want to elect to put towards technology purchases. I had a conversation yesterday with Crystal Romero at College of San Mateo, and you know, for a Chromebook, you know, that really costs about what a standard calculus textbook used to cost. So to be able to make that available to students via financial aid so that they won't even have to worry about paying for it. They would just be able to use their financial aid to do that. And then finally, I'm going to be on a call, I think next week, early next week, with the foundation. So the foundation staff has been great at working with me and Adolfo Leyva on the Second Harvest Food Drive, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But they came up to me last week when we were in the parking lot at CSM and said, please let us know what we can do to help, you know, to help, what money we need to raise. If you have any brainstorming ideas? I said, I have an idea. The idea is technology for students. So we're going to have a conversation next week about what the foundation can do to help subsidize technology options for students. The key to this is, and I said it to Chancellor Claire earlier today, is that the market for technology is quickly drying up. We know that our former president at Skyline College ordered 9,000 Chromebooks for her district recently. So, I mean, and that's all colleges are reacting similarly because they want to, as Chancellor Claire said, prepare for the worst. So we want to make some decisions relatively soon and make these purchases, get the inventory in-house. We will be taking these packages and putting them on the bookstore website for students to look at. And I was invited tomorrow to speak with the associated students at Kenyatta College, which I'm going to do. And we're going to talk about this there so I can get some feedback from the students on how they think this plan is going to work best for them. So Chancellor Claire, I hope that was enough.
Yeah, I asked for the Reader's Digest, and I know I'm just kind of throwing all this at you, and I'm reading off my notes, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is we're really thinking ahead and trying to prepare for fall, even if we go face-to-face. And then finally, I'll just leave it at this for two other things that we're working on. Basically, I probably should have started with this, is the idea is to build a common structure where my hope is that we can build a common structure and infrastructure where certainly the colleges continue to maintain their individual identity. You know, you're always going to have a Kenyatta College, a CSM, and a Skyline. We don't want to take that away. But underneath that, can we build a platform and support and common training, which we're going to be able to do, so that the quality of experience in distance learning is the same for all students across all three colleges. And, you know, we've got a good start. We've built very quickly this virtual campus. We actually got talk about shout outs. We wasn't quite from the state chancellor, but we got a shout out on a call from in the Bay 10 from San Jose Evergreen District, because they basically looked at all the rollouts of these virtual campuses and modeled theirs after ours. That was kind of nice to be recognized for that, but we know we can do better. So a big part of fall, regardless of the mode we're in, is getting ready for potentially working from home. It could even be I guess a planned power shutdown isn't really going to help if we're relying on technology, but it's just this new normal. And then the final thing is that, and this is easier said than done, but we recognize that we're probably entering a world of we know a lot of displaced workers. I heard from Congresswoman Spear that she's very concerned about displaced workers in the hospitality and restaurant sector. And so we want to work and do what we've always done, which is to quickly build and market programs for displaced workers. So that's another piece that we're going to work on. So those are our plans for fall. The short answer is our intent is to be face-to-face for fall. We're building a schedule that reflects that. We also want to give faculty, particularly faculty that are groups that, you know, that are in compromised groups that are really scared to come back because this virus is still going to be here in fall. We want to work with faculty, give them the flexibility that if they would prefer to be all online for fall, let's work with you and do that. And the same goes for students. I've heard from indirectly from a couple of students, I want to continue, but I'm scared to be on campus. So we'll monitor this, but I think irrespective, we're probably going to see a higher percentage of online classes in the fall regardless. Trustee Goodman has his hand up, so yes, Trustee
okay.
Goodman. Yeah, sorry.
Physically.
I still haven't figured out how to raise it on the app, so that's fine. Yeah, my question is regards to the working conditions and the conditions, you know, obviously if we are to open in the fall, and then also if we're opening in the summer for certain programs, that we keep in mind the working conditions of our faculty, our staff, as well as in the best interest of our students. So with that said, have we considered, you know, health and wellness to preparing, to making sure that, like you said, the flexibility is there for our students and faculty to be able to do as much as they can off campus if that's what they need in order to for their own health and wellness to be safe. Secondly, what do you call it? The face mask. Will we make sure that we have them available for our faculty, our students, our staff, in certain high traffic areas, that there's plexiglass. I mean, obviously, like you said, this is our new norm. You go to the grocery store, there's plexiglasses. Anytime there's any high traffic and potential for contact, are we going to have those, for example, if we open up in the fall? In our counseling areas to ensure that, you know, both our staff are safe as well as our students. And then what else? I think that's it. And then just making sure hazard pay is continued where appropriate, whether it's when we open up with our either our public safety, our custodial staff, that if they're asked to be in certain situations, that we're taking care of our staff that are asked to do extraordinary things under these conditions that they're working in.
No, great points, Trustee Goodman. And it's interesting as we sort of step away from the EOC model and get back into the academic business of the organization, we will still have that EOC stood up, and the primary responsibility of the EOC as we move forward is to continue to do what it was always supposed to do, which is protect people first, and of course property. And so those considerations, and you listed a number of them, and they're good points. We would be discussing it within the context of our EOC to make sure that we have the proper PPE and protection. I will admit, and I don't know if Annette's on the line still. Annette, thank you for your email. I got a little ahead of myself in one of my emails, but to everybody. But we definitely want to work with our collective bargaining units on the working conditions moving forward, if in fact you know, some of us are able to return to campus. And I think that's going to be part of a continuing conversation to make sure that people are safe, and there is flexibility all the way around. So these are really good points, and we've got them on our list as well.
So
and then,
now? Oh, okay.
So I wanted to just share with you, just in very broad terms, our plan for fall, and we're not just kind of sitting around, you know, saying, well, we'll see what happens. We're actually actively planning for it. I think the last thing that was on the report that we wanted to cover was just a bit about what we're continuing to do to meet basic student needs. If you want to hear a little bit about that, we kind of covered it. You know, right now we're really focused on the food distribution and the technology distribution. I don't know if you have specific questions, but both Tom Bauer, who's really kind of headed up, along with Adolfo at Kenyatta, who's done a terrific job, the food distribution piece of this, as well as Dom and Gruel and his team in terms of the technology distribution. So I'll just leave it for your questions, and I know they'd be happy to answer them.
Trustee Maloney, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I have two questions. Thank you, Chancellor Claire, for the update. I appreciate it very much, and the plans and the thoughtfulness everyone's put into place so far in developing them. I understand from some of my colleagues that Google has been donating Chromebooks to the San Bruno School District and to the San Francisco Unified School District. I believe I heard today from a colleague up there that they donated 10,000 to San Francisco, since a substantial Google subsidiary is located in San Bruno, where Skyline College is. I'm wondering if we've approached Google about the donation of Chromebooks rather than having to have our students purchase them.
That's a great question. Not that I know of, but we can check that. I know sometimes there's the K through 12. You know, they tend to think of the K through 12s and not community colleges. But excellent suggestion, Trustee Manley-Kern. I've got notes to check and perhaps approach this through our foundation, or perhaps it's Takia and I making that inquiry. So happy to do that.
Never hurts to ask.
No,
no. Then my second question is really going to one of my overarching concerns, which is, we focus a lot on the students we know about and the challenges and the issues that we know about as responding to this stuff. But I'm also very concerned about what we don't know that we don't know, and how many students have fallen between the cracks in this very difficult transition that have maybe missed our safety net that we're holding out. And so I'm just wondering if there's any quantitative aspect of this. For example, if we look at Canvas logins, if we knew that we had 10 or 15,000 or whatever number of students were enrolled and registered in Canvas for the current semester, and we're looking now, since we've gone to the offline, non-face-to-face mode, how many students have actually logged into Canvas since then? Have we lost 5% of our students, 10% of our students? Do we have any way of knowing just those that we simply are not in touch with anymore, that are not responding or not engaging with us?
Right. If I could, I'm going to throw that over to, and in fact, I was going to ask Vice Chancellor McBean to share some survey data again, but I think I'll throw it over to Aaron and perhaps Dom, and I don't know if you have data on that, or we're tracking that. I know we're following up on survey concerns, but Aaron, anything on that?
I can just add before Aaron gets on the Canvas piece. We've been also emailing out technology. Mailing out technology to students. So there were a lot of students who could not physically come to the campuses. So we had followed up with them through the dean's office to see who still needs the technology, and we have mailed out Chromebooks and laptops to those students. And the numbers are few, but we've taken the additional step to make sure everybody gets it. Plus David Reed and the team over at Kenyatta had a laptop distribution over at Redwood City. A lot of students could not get to Kenyatta College, but they could get to the Redwood City Community Center. So we asked distribution there, and that was, again, a successful distribution of technology. And go ahead.
I appreciate the question, Trustee Mandelkern. I think there's a few different ways to answer it. So one of the difficult parts is definitely not all faculty were using Canvas before we made this transition. And though a few have shifted over during the transition, most of the folks who are using Canvas were in either an online or hybrid, where they've been able to maintain better engagement. However, and I'll say however, and this is recognition of the difficulty faculty are facing, is they're the first ones to know whether or not students are engaged in their class or not. And so it's been, I think, one of the biggest topics of conversation is how can we continue to reach out to these students that we know are not involved. So we don't have comprehensive aggregated data that we can look at. I think one of the pushes to expand the use of Canvas as a standard allows for some better follow-up. But what we have done is, and I mentioned it briefly during the study session, we sent out a student survey really assessing the transition and identified students who said they were having difficulties and they were struggling. The 3 campuses organized student response teams that have been following up directly with those students based on how the students said they wanted to be followed up with, whether or not they wanted to be followed up by phone call, text, or email. And that survey was sent out not only by email, but also by text messages to every number that we had on file for students. And so they've been doing a lot of the one-on-one reach out directly to students. Faculty who notice that students aren't engaged are referring them over to success teams. They're trying to reach out themselves. But that's really that's the point of contact that we have is faculty being aware that a student is not engaged in their class. Despite all of the best efforts, and this is I think one of the hardest parts about this transition is if we can't get a hold of a student through text, through email, all of our things, that was the essential part of having these different grading options, is to be okay. So with that, how can we minimize any harm to that student who, for whatever reason that we just don't know about at this point, they haven't stayed engaged. And so that's where we put in the no pass option. That's where we have the EW option. Students can choose up to a year after the end of the semester and still be refunded fees, for example. So that's where those come in to play more and more. We've asked faculty to hold off on doing any drops until the very last moment, only if they know a student wants to be dropped. But if the student hasn't been engaged, to then hold off. And the no pass would probably be the least amount of negative impact. And so in the interim, it's all the different teams on the campuses trying to do the reach out once they identify a student has not been engaged. But we just don't have good comprehensive data about that.
Well, maybe that's something we can focus on, because I don't mean to minimize all the hard work and all the excellent work that our faculty and staff are doing to respond to these students who reach out, but it kind of illustrates my point. When we follow up with the students who have responded to the survey and say they need help, that's terrific. But that's only reaching those students who have stuck up their hand and responded. What we don't know is what we don't know, and which is of those students, and maybe this is just where we learn better going forward to do a better job of tracking students, knowing who's enrolled in courses, who doesn't make a transition from face-to-face to online. But those students who have just failed to respond, who haven't made that transition, that's my concern, is how can we reach out to those students, let them know that we're going to be back, hopefully doing face-to-face instruction in the fall, try and get them re-engaged and re-enrolled in their coursework in the fall, try and maintain a connection with them over the summer. So maybe we can get them into an online class over the summer, maybe at least stay in touch and let them know what's happening in the fall, but really making sure that we don't just lose those, whether it's 2% or 5% or 10% or whatever it is of our students who have not made that transition from face-to-face instruction on campus to technology-assisted learning from home.
Good point. Anybody else want to respond to that? Okay. Mike, are we through with this conversation, or did you want to go through?
No, I think that's really all we have, unless there's other, this is really an opportunity for the board to ask questions, for us to engage with you. I wanted to make sure, because particularly the decision around summer is a big one. So a couple of you had suggested, hey, let's have this conversation in public, and I appreciated that. That is the direction we do feel we need to go, and my sense is that hopefully you're on board with that direction. But other than that, we'll continue to update you as often as we can. Your feedback is very helpful to us. And we continue to learn by listening. I mean, that's really what we need to do. And really putting an effort now on summer and fall to make sure our students are successful. So I don't have anything else to add.
Very good. Well, thank you for the update. Any other comments or questions from board members? Hearing none, let's go to, oh my goodness, communications. Does any board member have a communication they want to bring forward? Share? Hearing none. Statements from board members. Anything you'd like to say that we haven't said already? Or add to the meeting?
Can I
wait, I'll go. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, Kaylin. Let's hear from Kaylin.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you guys for sharing, and I sent over the files that Aaron sent me regarding the pass, no pass, and EW to Kenyatta and CSM's presidents. Thank you for them to share.
Thank you, Kaylin. We appreciate that. Vice President Norris, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for their input today on all of the various things that we're moving forward with. It seems to me that the thought processes that are being executed right now between administration, the academic senate, and everyone that's involved appear to be right on track and tracking, you know, day by day what's going on, not only in our environment, but how we're affected by everything else. And so I appreciate that and would encourage us to continue on that track. I'm sure that we will be, because it seems like we're all on the same page here. And I'm optimistic that we will be making the best decisions for moving forward in the summer. And I mean, I think that's a no-brainer, but I'm glad that we're thinking about options for the fall and being prepared to offer the best options for our students, and not waiting till it's, you know, something that just happens without putting in the time and effort to figure it out from now. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Mandelkern, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of comments. First, I want to thank all of our faculty, our staff, our students, our community members for bearing with us during very difficult and extraordinary times, and for your flexibility and adaptability in responding to what we're trying to do here as a district. Very much appreciated, and I think we're doing a terrific job, and I want to thank everyone very sincerely for all your efforts. I did want to point out there's been a lot of talk. We call this online learning or distance learning or remote learning. I've heard a better name for what we're doing right now that I would suggest that we use, which is quarantine learning, because I think we should be honest about what we've done in the space of 6 days is take a complete face-to-face instructional program. We have not turned it into a comprehensive online learning curriculum. We haven't done all the nice instructional design and, you know, all the things that you would do if you were given time and resources to actually turn a course into an online course. Let's not, you know, kid anybody about what we're offering here. This is, you know, emergency learning for emergency times. This is quarantine learning. So I think it's terrific, and we're doing a great job right now to keep our students afloat, but this is no means where we would want to get to if we were really creating a distance learning or online learning environment. So let's call quarantine learning what it is, and let's hope that we get out of this mode of operations pretty quickly and back to what we really know how to do as educators and providing for our students. My second point, I just wanted to note that at one point tonight, we had 72 attendees on the Zoom session. In our last couple of board meetings, I've noticed we had 90+ participants. That's a huge number compared to the physical bodies that we would get in our district boardroom. And I hope this trend continues. I just wanted to thank our ITS staff for putting together these Zoom sessions. And also, I understand now that we have added the links on the website. So on the board meeting schedules, there's a link to be able to go back and review the recorded sessions. So that's something now as well that people can see and review at their leisure what we've done and what we've talked about. And I think that will only get better in the future as we add transcripts and indexing to it as well. But we're making progress, and I hope we continue this even when we get back to, relatively speaking, normal times, that we continue to provide the online streaming, because I think this experience has demonstrated the value of doing it. We have a lot of people who would like to see what we're doing who can't necessarily show up in our district boardroom. And then just finally, I want to congratulate our Vice President, Angelica Garcia from Skyline College, on your appointment as president at Berkeley City College. And I will miss you in our conversations and your participation in our board meetings and your leadership on our campus at Skyline, and wish you only the best for the future. And I hope we'll continue to see you at Bay 10 meetings and state conferences, and we'll certainly look forward to maintaining the relationship. So best of luck to you, and thank you very much for everything you've done on behalf of our students at Skyline. And thank you, President Schwartz. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Goodman, did you have any comments?
No comment.
Okay, and Trustee Oliver?
No, I have no comments, thank you.
A lot of work to go through to say no comments, right? I would concur. I think that I'm impressed with the participants, and I know it's always good to hear from the public, but even our own community is chiming in. I guess it's because you have maybe the time to do it. I hope it's because you have the interest to do it for our employees, but it's very, very helpful that I feel that we're getting the information to more people within our community, which is very, very important. I guess if there's no more statements, I will just remind the board that we are scheduled to have a regular meeting which will be conducted by Zoom, May 13th. And until then, I would say, if there's no more comments, I would say the board has to go back to closed session. And we will all leave the meeting and see you in May, if not before. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.